Hi, Amanda, and we're back.
Yeah. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
Great session they just had. Wow.
That was a brilliant one. I mean, all the sessions that have been happening are really different from each other and really informative.
Yeah, fantastic.
So this is session number 8 for the day, talking all about trends and color palettes of 2021 and 2022. To quickly start off with, we have Amanda Cunningham with us from the Wedding Expo, who has been in the industry for 25 years now, and she has had careers in property, public relation, events, and exhibitions. She's a mom to one child and is a seasoned entrepreneur. Definitely a Wonder Woman to all of us. Welcoming you once again, Amanda Cunningham, and the stage is all yours while we wait for the panelists to join in.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And hello,
hello
everyone.
Ladies.
Hello.
Hello. Hi, all the ladies and one gentleman. Welcome to you all.
Thank you.
I'm sorry we run over time, but the photographers took the stage and they had so much to say that that we let them carry on for a bit longer. So welcome everybody. I'm going to quickly introduce you to our audience. We've got Leigh Herringer and Alison Abdo. Leigh has worked in the magazine industry for over 20 years. She's edited Food and Home Entertaining and Wedding Inspirations magazine. And together, Leigh and Alison, as lifelong friends with a passion for food and entertaining, they launched the Tickled Giraffe, which is an Instagram account which showcases the very latest in trends. So they are much needed on this talk today. Karen Short, 28 years. My golly, what a lifetime. You've built up a reputation for honestly the most talked about, polished, amazing events in South Africa. You've got a career that is phenomenal. You've been voted the best caterers in I don't know how many years in a row, but I know a lot. And you've achieved many amazing things. Not only that, for a mother of 4 boys, hats off to you.
Thank you.
And Amelia is based in London. Amelia is the founder of The Wedding Mission 2012. You founded it with a blog and an Italian TV program. And she's also the editor of the wedding editor of Fab UK magazine, which is a fashion and lifestyle magazine. So welcome to you.
Thank you very much.
London. And Stephen, our rose amongst the thorns. Stephen is from Decor and Flowerworks. You've been in the industry for over 25 years, worked on some of the world's biggest live events, have a passion for food, and therefore you are an accomplished chef. So welcome to you. So everybody, we are talking trends for 2021 and 2022. And usually by this time in after a year, I personally have seen lots and lots and lots of weddings that have been sent to us to the magazine for us to have a look at. So I've got a good idea of what the colors are and what the trends are. But the last year, having thrown us the curveball that it did, I haven't seen many of those. So let's talk about what are the hot colors and where do we start? I read something that said that the best way to advise a bride is that you start with a base color and the time of year that she wants to get married and you go from there. So who wants to take that up first?
I'm happy to. I think COVID, we're definitely not seeing the brides going with the Pantone color of the year, which is a bright yellow and gray. We're definitely seeing a move to more the jewel colors and lots of color. And I'm not sure if that's come out of COVID, but we're certainly seeing a lot of color on all the weddings. And I when you say start with a base color, I always say to them, choose your main color. And then we literally work with a color wheel and we kind of gather the colors on the color either side on the color wheel. But so we are definitely seeing a year of more jewel colors and through the flowers, through the dresses, everything.
Everything. And how many colors, Karen, once you've got your base color, how many colors would you bring into the theme itself? Or is there no limit to them?
I think as long as you're working in the shades, we always, there's different patterns you can work with. You either work with the main color on the color wheel and colors on either side. Every now and then we'll pop over and bring in a color opposite on the color wheel. But I think the way you group, for example, the colors and then blend and, kind of the bridesmaids' dresses, it's just got to all work together. I don't think there's any real rule because you get so many different shades from the main color.
Okay, so that's interesting. Amelia, tell us, what are you experiencing on the other side in the northern hemisphere?
Let's say that I'm quite not structured person, of course, as we work on the creative environment. So for us, there's no limit, and I don't want to make limits to the couples. So I like that this creates a flow between, of course, the relationship with us and the couple, and in the couple themselves on their journey to make a proper a plan for being visible, their wedding, through mood boards and making all together. So I'm always suggesting to don't be so straight and following some rules, because it doesn't exist any rule. Well, we are talking about colors and big companies that work on the creative and coloring industry. They make their own trends, like fashion. We are as much inspired from the fashion, of course. Fashion architecture, we always need to bring, but to make our own project, to be able to build it together with the couple. So always I suggest to don't be focused on 1, 5, 10 colors, whatever, but just to make smoothly what we are building, and try always to follow what they really they feel that represent themselves.
Okay, that's great advice. Yeah, great advice.
We can carry on with that.
Yeah.
So while we see these weddings getting smaller and more intimate during COVID, and they're becoming more and more sentimental, we're finding that some of the colors are becoming more sentimental. So if you're having a small intimate wedding in the bush, or if you're having a small intimate wedding at the beach, you're going to be inspired by the sentimental colors around you, the colors that make you feel happy and secure, and you're surrounded by your loved ones. So you're in the bush with your loved ones and it's your happy place, and we feel like people are becoming inspired by the palettes of what is exactly around them.
Okay, that's great. I mean, that's lovely. So Stephen, if you come in there with flowers, you've got to now marry all of that into the setting, and to potentially, as they've just said, that now we're looking at more intimate weddings. Flowers are a huge expense. So how do you advise the brides on that? Stephen, we can't hear you. Stephen, we can't hear you. Are you on mute? No? No. Can you hear Stephen? I can't hear him. Can any of you hear?
I can't hear Amanda.
I'm back.
Can you hear us?
I can hear you, and I can hear. Okay. All right. So
Should I?
Leigh, please.
About the flowers. Sorry, Amanda, what was your question about the flowers?
So my question was around the flowers. Stephen, you're back with us. Can you hear us? Okay, we can't hear you still. We haven't got you, I'm afraid.
About paying for the flowers. Oh, yes. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think we can hear Stephen. So, when editing the magazine, we often used to write about how to cut costs at weddings.
Yeah.
And one of the places one can do that is actually with the flowers, as beautiful as they are very expensive. So I would say that definitely sticking to seasonal flowers is a priority if you're trying to cut the costs. Using and working out where at your ceremony and reception, where are the focal points that people are going to be looking at. I mean, don't put a huge bowl of flowers in the cloakroom, for example. You just put something small and pretty there. But maybe you want to have a beautiful flower arch at the ceremony, because that's a focal point and you're going to look beautiful under the flower arch. Ali and I were also saying,
Karen back.
Is he back? Stephen? No?
No,
Karen's back and Stephen's there. Hi. So we're talking, Karen and to Stephen. And Stephen, I hope that you can hear us, and maybe we can, as you've taken your earpieces out. Talking about the flowers, and Leigh was talking about, choose your areas correctly so that you don't put flowers in an area that's not going to be used as much. I suppose, the other thing is that you don't have to only use flowers. You can use a lot of greenery, but you can also bring in, and Karen, I've seen you do this, you bring in vegetables, you can bring in other things that are just as effective.
Yeah. You definitely can, and you can bring in props and things. But I think what we're seeing is also mixing up things that we wouldn't normally see. Like at the moment, we are seeing all the old-fashioned flowers being used, the hydrangeas, the dahlias, and those flowers, and then even mixing it with almost weeds and cosmos and greenery and grasses. And I mean, it really is beautiful.
Absolutely. I think that to use cosmos, I mean, I just it's abundant here at the moment, and so beautiful.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at a couple of questions that are coming up here. So from Alessandri, what are your opinions on fake flowers at weddings? Who's going to take that one up?
We always have a rule with
Maybe
fake
the flower
flowers.
is. Yes.
We always say with fake flowers, you mustn't be able to touch them. So you can have them hanging from the ceiling if you want, but I wouldn't put them on the flowers. My rule is they can't be touched. It's going to be so distant that they are, we haven't put them right on the table. Yeah.
Okay. I think that's interesting. And Amelia, what were you going to say on that?
Yeah, I'm saying I don't want to go against on companies that I know also here in London that manage decoration properly with just let's say dry flower. I don't want to say fake, because of course you cannot build a proper nice decoration with the fake, because of course it's so visible. But now the new trends of the dry flowers, whatever, could be a trend. So could be very sustainable choice, and on that size it could be interesting. In terms of fake, I would say. I don't want to be rude, but if you don't have the money to support a great decoration with flowers, so don't leave it. As my colleagues from media, they suggest, there are so many beautiful places, venue. I'm come from Italy, so in Italy there are beautiful locations. South Africa, Cape Town is just a backdrop, just the natural. So if you, in terms of economical abilities, if you cannot afford, leave it with thinking to do a bit, but let's try to make a balance. No, I mean, if you need to cut off something, you can use the chance of the beautiful background and use the surrounding to make even a wonderful and magical atmosphere.
Yeah,
and we also, if we may, another clever way to cut costs on flowers is to bring your colors in different ways. So you're going to be renting your glasses and napkins, etc. anyway. So try and bring some color in maybe beautiful oversized floral napkins and colored glassware, stemware. And you can really bring it in like that, and then you can sort of put a bit of greenery down the table, and maybe just a couple of dahlias rather than overrunning your budget on the flowers. You can bring in the color in that way.
Yeah, great idea. I see we've got a question here that says, do you need to consider the seasons when choosing your color palettes? Well, I mean, Karen, I mean, I think that is definitely a wise, that you need to consider the seasons, especially when you're buying the flowers if they're out of season. But your color palette, you don't want to have, something that's very summery in a very wintry environment.
Absolutely. I mean, we always also say to our brides, don't get stuck on it. If you're going to be stuck on a particular flower, then we've got to look at the season for that flower or the import opportunities for that particular flower. Otherwise, we can create a look, and you've got to be comfortable with the look first, and then we will create that using whatever flowers we are able to at the time. But if you're not going to look at an import cost, then you've got to be very, very aware of what we can get in that season.
Yeah. Okay. So, Stephen, are you able to? Can we hear you now? Are you able to chat to us? No. Okay. Perhaps you want to type me a message in the inbox, and then I can put that up to the group. But I was going to ask. Let's talk about trends in food, because I think with smaller weddings now and weddings being planned for sort of almost every day of the week, and trying to fit in weddings that have been cancelled, that have been postponed, that we don't know if we're going to get another lockdown. I've heard some people say that the brunch wedding is hugely popular at the moment. I'd love some ideas on the different times of weddings and the type of food that's being served, because obviously you've also got some issues around social distancing.
Yeah, so we are definitely doing more lunches, and that's because of the time frame, the curfew. Also, we're certainly doing more outside events. So you hire a venue, but hopefully use the outside, because we're allowed more people outside than we're allowed inside. So lunches are huge, and then if they go into the evening, then you turn on the beautiful lights, which goes back onto having a magnificent backdrop. You can have less flowers, and in the evening, the fairy lights or the globe lights get turned on. You get a whole different look and feel. Certainly before COVID, it was very much the harvest tables, sharing boards. That was the biggest trend. Now with COVID, we're back to plated. We're doing multiple tasting menus, multiple courses, which we're not allowed to do the harvest tables or the sharing boards. So we're back now to beautiful designer plated functions on beautiful plates and multiple courses.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah.
Karen, are you still seeing the interactive stations at the weddings? Are people still wanting the rock bars and ice cream bars and?
No, we're doing our drink bars because the weddings are so much smaller. We are doing like a whiskey bar or a drinks bar that you can go up to and doing the drinks, but the food definitely not. We're not doing any stations whatsoever. Every single thing that we do is served and plated. And as I say, some of the courses go up to 8 courses on some of these functions.
Wow. And I read somewhere, Karen, that there's a trend towards miniature cakes, so that you're not actually having to cut one big cake and passing the slices on. So each guest is getting a miniature cake. I mean, I love the idea, but is it the trend?
We've done a few. We've even done them under tiny little glass domes. But the one thing that we're seeing with cakes is the cake trend is the painted on butter icing. So you literally do your rough butter icing and you paint these beautiful flowers on them. And that's very difficult to do on a small a cake. So what we are doing is the cake, we're actually almost putting it under a big glass dome or bringing it out just for the cutting, putting it in the middle of the dance floor away from everybody, slicing it up with just the bride, taking it back, and then serving that as well. So it's a very definite, we are doing it, but it's obviously smaller. It's not masses of tiers.
Yes.
But,
okay. All right.
But we're doing more of that than the single cakes. I can't lie.
Okay. No, interesting to know that, because it was something that I read and I thought, well, I'd love to know if that's the truth. So,
But I can tell you for free, we're doing no fondant. That's gone out completely.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Okay. Yeah. So just looking through some of, I was looking up what are the top hot bridal trends, and a couple of things came up, and of course there was a big trend to the save the date invitation, which has now quickly become change the date invitation.
Yeah.
Have you seen I mean, obviously there's been a lot of that going on.
Yeah.
And I think people just have to be fluid. People just need to understand that we don't know what's happening next week or the week after or the week after. No. And I think people have become a lot more relaxed about the save the dates. It is literally becoming the change the dates. And if you get to have your wedding, enjoy it and have the best time in the world, because, you know.
One of the panelists earlier, it was interesting chatting to her, because we talked obviously about, cancelled weddings, postponed weddings, and how long do you keep postponing for, because you want to have, those big numbers of guests. And her advice was, why don't you just get married and then have a big celebration later? And I tend to agree with that.
Yeah. Although we've seen some girls who have gone ahead and had the smaller wedding after having to postpone the large wedding, and they've gone ahead and had the smaller weddings, and they've decided and said we'll have a huge celebration next year once COVID is over, etc., etc. But once they've had their beautiful micro wedding, they've realized that it was everything they dreamt of anyway, and they've enjoyed it so enormously. And people have been so supportive of the changes that have to be made and the cuts that have to be made and they've actually come out the other side and said, you know what, that was my dream wedding, and I'm not going to have a huge, enormous celebration down the line. I'm done now. I love that.
Yeah.
We're definitely
Amalia,
seeing that.
Yeah. Carry on, Cara.
Our advice for our brides, when we've got some that have changed their dates 4 times, but our advice right now is not knowing whether there's another lockdown or a third lockdown. We've actually been saying to these girls that have changed the date so often, go to Home Affairs and just do it. You don't need to tell everyone that you're married. Yeah. And at least that's done, especially the girls who are trying to travel, might have to go and join their husband in the UK or Europe or whatever. Just get the wedding done, and then we'll try and sort out for the big wedding later or whatever. So some aren't doing the micro wedding even. They're just getting married and waiting for the big wedding. And I think just to get married, because you never know when Home Affairs is closed down again.
Absolutely. Amalia, in England at the moment, what are your limitations on weddings?
Yeah, actually, we are still not trading. People until Monday, they cannot get married. And from Monday, they are allowed again a rule of 6. So, of course, so Monday will be the first day. So, on our side, this was logically the suggestion to give to the couple. So let's get married. You don't want, of course, to wait for put together, the love, but and wait for the celebration. But on their side, they don't want to refuse their wedding with the party. So there are still so many postponing. They don't want to get married in just 6 people. To celebrate with just 6 people. They want to make a party, so they will wait. And of course, we have lost the hope to wait. And some of them, they are completely in standby without deciding yet any date. Know that they might be receiving confirmation from venues that already are overmelted of requests and bookings. But of course, this is still so certain here, and it's so still very, very hard. So how to say,
with 6 people, I mean, that really is tiny. I don't think, I think I'm right, girls, in saying that we didn't ever get down to 6 people.
No.
So really tough for all of your brides in Europe or in England, certainly, who are having to stick to those. And who knows when your numbers are going to be allowed to go up again. I don't think you know that. So, tough for all of them. I'm looking here at a question that's come up, 2 questions actually that have come up, and one which is actually I'm intrigued by this about the mismatched seating, because it's one of my questions to ask all of you, which is mismatched seating. It seems to be a big trend that you've got different styles of seating at the reception itself. Is this correct? What do you think about it?
We are
Who's going to take
definitely
that one
seeing
up?
people we are seeing people using different seating at long tables. We're obviously still doing, I've got a wedding on that's going on tomorrow, obviously the lounge areas, the cocktail area, and then the seated area. But we are seeing a lot of the time with mismatched seating, a lot of the times it's also been it actually looks really good, but a lot of the time people are trying to use their own stuff to make it look more homely, cutting costs on the hiring, and they're even doing mismatched napkins. They might be keeping all the napkins white, but some are from granny, some are from this person, some are from that person. We are seeing a bit of it, and it's been a trend that's been around for a while. Not even pre-COVID, we saw a lot of that.
Yeah, I like the idea of using different napkins and using sort of your granny's napkins. I like the fact you bring in that personal element.
Yeah, it's all about the sentimentality.
Even the teacups, floral
absolutely,
teacups with gazpacho soup and things like that. They're using granny's crockery and cutlery as well.
I think that, again, it boils down to, like, my biggest advice for planning your wedding is that it's about you. And if you want to use your granny's napkins, you must use your granny's napkins. It's about your personal taste. Just because the big trend is yellow and grey, you don't have to use yellow and grey. If you want to do dusty champagne, you must do it. You can't be bullied into doing something you want to do. It's your style, your character. It's about you getting married.
I think that's great advice, Leigh. Leigh, I know that you wrote in the past. You've written on sustainability and eco weddings. I think that for me is a big ticket item, and I think really it's come into play a lot more now, especially through this COVID period. I think that if people are really cognizant of it. I know that you've written many articles on this. Have you found this? Did you find this to be the truth?
Absolutely. I think people these days are they send online invitations and save the dates and change the dates instead of the paper invitations. They're using confetti that's natural. You've seen people who using a punch and making tiny little punching into leaves to make beautiful confetti. Not using plastic.
Yes, I love that.
Knowing where your food is coming from, and
seasonal food,
seasonal. And I also think that something else we're seeing quite a bit of is that people are paying it forward at their weddings. They're making sure that the flowers the next day are delivered to a hospital or to an old age home. The food isn't going to waste; it's being taken to a similar kind of place. So I think there's one of the things also through COVID is there's been a big move towards not wasting things.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I think that is definitely playing out.
Well, you can give some really lovely sustainable favors. You can even if you do decide to do invitations that aren't online, you can have invitations delivered that you can then plant in your garden. There's all sorts of ways to be sustainable.
Yeah, wonderful ideas. Ladies, I'm being told that we need to start wrapping this up, unfortunately. But what are your parting words to brides who've cancelled and cancelled and cancelled? I know we've said that, just get on with it. It's hard to tell them just to get on with it when it's the most emotional day of their lives. So, I think that I do think they should just get on with it. But what is your advice to them if that's not their choice and they want to hang out and wait for another 2 years?
Well, like Karen said, it's about the wedding. It's about 2 people get married. And if you do want to wait and have the wedding of your dreams that you've dreamt about since you were little, that's absolutely fine. if you change your mind, that's also fine these days too. Changing dates, changing minds. But just remember that it's about two people first and foremost, and you guys can have an elopement or a quick wedding at the registry office. But yeah, waiting is fine. Just be happy and just be grateful that we're going to get more choices down the line.
Yeah. And that we'll all be back to normal, hopefully soon.
Yeah.
I think that's what we're all hoping for.
Yeah.
Stephen, I'm sorry we haven't been able to include you in our chat and that we haven't been able to hear you. We'll have to sort out your technical issues and bring you into another forum. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. Hope to see you all on the platform over the next couple of days. And thank you for the advice to everybody. It was wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Have a happy wedding.
Thank you.
Loved having you.